Hello there, welcome to Genesis Models. My name is Bobby Waldron and welcome to the new Genesis Model Show for 2022. Yes, we are now in 2022 and we've had such a mad month last month because we launched the new Genesis Models website, the new store and everything, which has been going really well. I know at the start there was a few sort of growing pains. I know there was a lot of emails going to people's junk folders, and there was something to do with the DNS where it sort of gets the website to the new website to be visible and searchable, and that normally takes between a couple of hours and like 3 days. Kind of rarely. It ended up taking about 3 days for some of you to actually start seeing the new website, which was something that's out of our control. It's just an internet thing, you know, getting the internet to do what it's supposed to do. Do apologize for that, but as I say, it was out of our control. But so far we've had no sort of people emailing about any bugs or any problems, so it looks like we're all going nicely ahead with the new website, and you all do seem to be liking it. I know last year we did do quite a few changes. We was messing about with new formats and stuff, and with the new website launch, you know, I've kind of decided on a new format which you'll see over the next month as it comes along. But basically a lot of it is just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, i.e. we're bringing back the monthly competition, you know, the one where you post on the forum and you get entered. We're going to bring that back because it's good to promote the forum, and you guys liked it, and it's always worked, and you know, it's all good. So we're going to be doing that. Now this last month, as I say, I mean, you know, with the new website launch, didn't get as many videos as I'd have liked to have done, but we did get a few done, which does bring us into this month's competition. So this month's competition is going to be for this little beauty just here. This is Airfix's new De Havilland Vampire F3 148 scale. Really nice kit. We did do an inbox review of this in December. Now, as always, as we used to do, but I'll remind you anyway, all you got to do to be in it to win it is go to the Genesis Models forum, and under the competition section for January 2022, just post a comment. Any comment will do, and you will be entered. And then next month in February, I will announce the winner after doing a random number generation program. So hopefully you're going to be in on that. Just a little pointer as well, with the new forum that will be coming later on, which remember didn't get launched with the new website, but we will have a new forum because it will link up with everybody's accounts on the website. We will probably have the facility to go off and possibly make that forum thread sort of locked to subscribing members, right? And I know people have mentioned this in the past and we didn't have the facilities to do it, but we could do it with the new forum, just so as the only people who can get in on it to win it will be subscribing members, because I know some people did mention how like people would only come to the forum, they'd post in that section and that was it. But I'll leave that up to you guys. Comment down below, let me know how you'd like me to do it when the new forum comes along. But for now, down onto the Genesis Models forum, make a comment and you're in it to win it. So there is the De Havilland Vampire, which as I say, I did an inbox review of this in December. Also in December we did, well, I would say Bill Bedreau did the new Tora by Edard 148 scale. Really nice kit of the Zero, as well as we've been working on the Avenger, and we've been working on the Phantom. So let's take a look where we are with those step-by-steps. So here we are, we're now moving into our weathering stage. Now what you can see is after all the deckling, there is a lot of decals that are going on here, quite a few to put on there, but it does look rather cool. Now what we're going to do now is do some weathering, but as you can see I've already done some of the recessed panel lines, recessed rivets. I've already filled them in. I thought I'd move this thing along, so all you got to do, Genesis Models website, in the tutorial section you'll find about filling in panel lines, and if editing me will just show you a clip how to find it, you'll be able to find it as you can see. So just to move things along now, we're going to just jump into some weathering master, what is it, the Tamiya weathering masters. I like set C and B. These are available in the Genessis Models store, by the way. Now with these are quite cool. I find that they're a really nice, easy way of doing some nice feathered in weathering. Right, we've got all sorts of colours here. The one I like is their orange rust. I know it's rust, but just because they call it rust doesn't mean anything, because really we're after this sort of kind of oily sort of colour to it. And you also get these, they're like makeup brushes, right, and we just want to sort of just try and get some of this on a little makeup brush just here. If I just flip this upside down, actually it's probably a good idea to use some gloves, because you know, at this stage where you got the weathering on, it's quite easy to sort of like touch or smudge something, and when you do that you can end up with all sorts of fingerprints and smudging away your work and stuff. I do recommend when it comes to gloves not to get the ones that have got talcum powder inside or some sort of powder in there. I know they're a bit easier to get on, right, but the problem is that that powder comes out on this side of the glove, and then you end up smudging all this white powder all over your model. I did that once before, never again. So with this on our little sort of makeup type brush, what we can do, any sort of areas where you'd think there'd be some sort of moving parts, right, so we can get a little makeup brush and, you know, we can just maybe do a couple of streaking passes just here, and as you can see you get this really cool sort of nice feathered in sort of a little bit of a streak, which is quite nice. It's not like a streaking effect where you have a nice sharp, but it's quite feathered. Also good to get out, say, a cotton wool bud, right, and it's quite easy because we've got this gloss coat on here. You know, as you can see, I've just done that little streak, but we're sort of trying to indicate that it's coming from, see that sort of recessed panel line that we've got in there. So I'm just going to go off now and just sort of tidy that up by just rubbing out where it's just gone past that, so it sort of really does nicely indicate where it's actually coming from. We've got all sorts of colours here. In set B we have a darker rust if you want to sort of do something a bit darker. We've also got like a gunmetal in here as well, which is kind of good for the exhaust area, but we've also got a soot in B, right, so we can I do like to sort of get this out. We'll get the soot, just rub it on here. Right, probably a good idea to kind of get some of these makeup brushes pretty damn cheap. You can get loads really cheap, because these do, because they've got like this foamy bit, you can see they do start to wear a little bit, but like here in and around sort of our exhaust area, we can sort of streak this across here also and just give it a bit of a black sooty sort of streaky look to that area. Don't go overboard, because you still want to see a natural metal finish. You know, we could probably do a little bit more than that actually, right, so I'll just rub some more of this on here. Might take a couple of passes, right, but we just sort of flick that on there as well. Where's my other brush gone? Also any sort of, you know, again, you know, it's even sort of like maybe, you know, your air brakes here, we can sort of get a nice sort of bit of streaking going on there, maybe a slight little bit of a leak, as you can see, really sort of nice and easy. I mean, some aircraft, I mean, probably, I don't think on this one, they have really these big streaky bits. You can sort of really go to town on some of them, but that's a really nice, cool, easy sort of way, hopefully, as you can see, how you can get some. It's so easy. This is what I love about these, you know. I know I'm going to show you in a bit how to do like proper streaking effects using enamels, but this is just so easy, but at the same time it gives you that nice feathered kind of a streak, which you know, I think is really good. It's a nice technique to learn. So when it comes to sanding, good sanding sticks to have, especially for this area here, because it's got a nice curve to it. We want to use things like sponge sanding sticks, not flat ones. Flat ones can give you a sort of like a flat top to it and it doesn't look quite right. Something spongy to go with the curvature. As you can see, we've got a nice spongy sanding stick here, and it can go with that curvature. You know, the Flurry model sanding sticks, which you can pretty much get at most online stores, do them. This is, shall we say, a bit of a nice medium grit to just get started. All right, and all we're going to do, you know, it is quite nice and easily. We just, you know, going in circles and going lightly. Right, there's no need to really dig down into it. Right, we don't want to, you know, sand away at too much of this. Right, especially with our medium grit, we just want to really, I mean, we don't have to go at it so that we get rid of all this filler and everything. We just want to sort of get it to a point where we kind of feel, right, that most of that, you know, it doesn't, you've got no lumpy bits, it doesn't feel like too rough. Just a little bit more here should get that just right, yeah, because we don't want to remove too much. It is easier to remove than it is to add. Remember that in modeling, it's a nice big one. Now here we have another sanding stick. Again, it's spongy, right, but this is more of a sort of a finer sanding stick, and with this one, you know, this is really finishes it up. I mean, I have found in modeling, I know you can go off and use so many grits, but like a nice sort of light to medium grit like we just used, and then this like nice fine sanding stick, right, pretty much all you need to use, right, and then this should be enough to get this finished off and looking good, right. So I'm just feeling that feels now pretty much sort of spot on. Now if you do want to, you can go off and get like even sort of shall we say even sort of finer sanding sticks. These are almost sort of like, these are like canopy sanding sticks if you really wanted to just smooth that plastic off, if you really wanted to. I find it's not that necessary, but you know, each to their own. I mean, that really does kind of polish it up, really, you know. If you feel this now, this feels so smooth, right, probably a little bit overkill, but that is up to you. Now we have this stage in which do you know what, as we talked about before, we've put on our first bit of filler, and you know, we've probably had a bit of shrinkage, so this is kind of where we want to put on our second coat of filler to sort of shall we say take care of that potential shrinkage, right. This is where, you know, green putty, it is good for the first round, but it is kind of like, shall we say, a bit of a thicker type kind of like filler. We kind of want to go for something that's a bit more finer, and good old Mr. Surfacer, right, is a really good one to sort of get those finer bits, right, because if you have too much of a thick kind of filler when you're doing sort of, shall we say, we're getting to like micro kind of gaps here, you know, you don't want to use a thick filler, you want to use something quite thin for this. So I'm just going to get out a paintbrush that I normally use every time for these kind of things, right, and we can just sort of dip into our Mr. Surfacer, right, and we can just simply paint this along here, right, and because it's almost like a paint, like a really thick paint, right, this should take care of the micro gaps. Let's get rid of that big chunk that's sort of gone there, right, and you've got to be careful, you get these sort of cobweb things come off this sometimes, so be careful. And then we just want to leave that now to dry, and really theoretically we do the same sort of sanding I've just shown you, and that should be perfectly seamless now, but we do want to check. So there's our step-by-steps, and we have the Avenger just here now. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing like scribing in the next episode of this, and moving along, just kind of doing general building, potential fit issues, and all that good stuff, probably going into canopies and whatnot. With the Phantom is really starting to get close to being finished. I mean, it may get finished this month by the looks of it, but we do have a lot of the weathering done now. We've got all the streaking, you know, panel lines done in, so really it's kind of just like getting the landing gear on. getting to that stage where we're potentially sort of putting that final matte coat on, bit of work in the canopy section, and all those little bits and bobs that you do to just finishing off a model. So quite exciting there with the Phantom bringing that to an end. So those are the builds. What we're going to be doing for a new sort of thing that I wanted to do with the new website, we've got this new gallery section, and I did mention about having your guys' final reveals put in there as well, and you really did seem to like that idea. I did get quite a bit of feedback on it. So what I'm gonna be doing is sort of like a new top pick of the forum, and that person who did sort of like what I thought was the best for that month will have their final reveals put in the gallery section, which for our first one of 2022, I did go off and I did see this really nice Buccaneer S2C. It's by Airfix, it's 1/48 scale, and it was made by Remy. So you could just see the pictures just here, but it will be going up in the gallery section on the main website. So congratulations to you, Remy, for doing that. It's going to be there for everyone to nicely enjoy now. So now we come to our next part of the segment in the show, which is going to be a bit of Q&A. So if you guys have got any sort of questions, you know, you put them all over the place, and you know, if I find one that's nice and suitable for the show, I'll whack it in just here. So first off, we have Carlos. He asked a question of gloss or matte varnish before applying any washes. What about when using oils, and what would you recommend, gloss or matte? So basically it's kind of just asking, when you come around to doing your weathering stage, right, gloss or matte, right? When it comes to this kind of thing, I will always say, you know, start with gloss, right? When it comes to these weathering products, they're like enamels, they're normally oils, right? Putting a gloss coat down is going to protect all your paint work and everything, but with a gloss coat, it's very, very forgiving, right? And that's sort of like the important thing to remember is, when it comes to stubbing down, fading in your oils or anything like that, if you make a mistake, because it's on a gloss coat, you wipe it up. You know, I've showed so many videos of streaking, and if you kind of brush it across too many times, boom, it's gone. You know, you could make it disappear very, very easily. So always start with gloss. Now, you could start going down to things like satin and even matte, right? But this is where you sort of start getting a little bit advanced, because as the surface gets more rough, i.e. gets more matte, right, what happens is it makes it more stubborn, more harder to remove your oils, your washes, your streaking effects, your fading, whatever you're doing. It makes it harder for it to remove. It basically sort of makes the area more, shall we say, it makes it look more dirtier. That's the kind of effect you generally sort of get, is it just makes the area more dirty because it's more stubborn for you to remove things like oils and stuff, compared to gloss. You can just wipe it away. It does get more advanced that way. I don't normally tend to go down that route. I find that gloss kind of does it, but I know some people do like to make the area more stubborn so it looks a bit more dirty, so they go satin, and some people go as far as going matte. I know with pigments, I do tend to like, for like wheels and tires and stuff, I like to have a matte surface for like my wheels, so as you can get the pigments to stick a little bit better. You know, it does sort of depend, but really safest way to play it is gloss. Got another question here. Sorry, this is a Russian name, cannot pronounce it or read it at all. But what stuff do you recommend to clean an airbrush after using Pledge or Future and those kind of glosses and stuff? Well, the problem is when, obviously, as you probably already know, is you can't see whether your airbrush is clean or not, because these are clear Future glosses. You know, you can't see them, they're clear. I do like using our Vallejo airbrush cleaner just to do your normal process, but because you can't see whether it's clean or not, I do tend to kind of finish it off with a nice blast of some sort of lacquer based thinners, right? We've got the Mr. Colour leveling thinners. It's basically like lacquer. You could use cellulose thinners, you know, something really, really strong to really you know, make sure you've cleaned it through. It's just one of them. It's because you can't see it, just clean it a little bit more than you would because you can't see whether it's clean or not. Next question we've got from Roger here. And he's basically asking about oils and what colours are recommended. You know, you don't, because he's basically saying he doesn't want to go off and buy an entire paint range of oils and, you know, not use half of the colours. You know, what personally do I recommend in colour wise? Well, let's just move along. What do we have here? Just a couple of colours really. I do like a good old sort of, some sort of a raw, let's move this out of the way, something like a bit of a raw umber. You know, that is probably a good one to start off with. Right, this is Winsor & Newton, doesn't matter what manufacturer, burnt umber, raw umber, some sort of a nice dark brown, good old black or white, so you can change sort of like the tone of it all. Sort of like a ochre yellow as well, is another one I like to use. Right, but we're basically looking at lots of sort of browns, oily kind of looking colours, maybe a bit of black and white just to mix a little bit. Those are the kind of colours that you're really sort of after. But we also, as another one that you probably might not quite expect, is this dark blue or some sort of like royal blue. There's so many manufacturers out there, can't really kind of tell you exactly what colours, but a really sort of nice dark royal blue. This is really cool for doing things like shadows, right? I know people might kind of go, oh, let's bring in a black or a grey for a shadow, maybe got a raised bit, but actually, you know, it really gives it more interest when you have something like a really dark blue to create shadows, and you can stub it down, feather it in, and it gives you this really nice sort of more interesting looking sort of shadow going on there. Sometimes I do use, where is it, which one's this? This is Green Grass by Aptal Ung, right? Really sort, I mean, it's quite a light sort of green, but it's good for sort of fading in sort of camo patterns, like a green camo pattern. It's quite sort of light, but you kind of feather it in and it does sort of give you sort of like a fading effect, like a wearing of paint in the sunlight kind of thing. Really, you don't need that many colours. I know I normally buy the whole sets, but it is right, you know, go for those browns, those oils, a dark blue, and if you know you're going to be working on a certain camo pattern, I mean, go for like a lighter version of that camo pattern. So kind of like buy as you sort of build along is probably my best advice. But that is the questions and answers for this month. So sadly, we've come to the end of our show, but I'll be seeing you in other videos throughout the month where we probably do inbox reviews, product reviews, tutorials, definitely moving along with our Avenger, our Phantom, and all that good stuff. It's going to be quite interesting now because finally, you know, all this website work and the the store and everything's all been finished, and it's kind of just like I can really sort of get down to concentrating more on the modeling side of things rather than the business side of things and admin side of things and websites and all that kind of stuff. So should be a nice new 2022. So as always, until next time, my name's Bob Waldron, this is Genessis Models, and I hope you've enjoyed.